How many of you have ever had a weird, awkward moment because you weren't paying attention or listening properly to what the person was saying? Like maybe you didn't give the reaction that they were expecting or you misunderstood. Uh, that would be critical thinking. Um, there's been a few incidences in my life that critical thinking probably would have helped me out a lot, and I've tried to get better with it. I'll give you an example that of me getting better. My girlfriend just went on a cruise up to Alaska, and she was telling me this funny story that one of the tour guides had told them when they docked up in uh, lower Canada area. And the tour guide tells them, guys, just so you know, I've been asked before, uh, do I have to leave the ship to go on the tour? And everybody laughed. And he's like, yes, you have to leave the ship if you want to go on the tour. And I told her, I said, baby, are you sure that the person asking that didn't mean, do I have to leave the ship to go on the tour? So, in other words, they didn't want to leave that day because the tour probably seemed silly to them, which is the case with me a lot. If it doesn't seem like it's going to be fun, I'd be like, I'd rather just stay on the ship. But she's like, you know what? You're going to make a great lawyer one day. And that's what I'm going to school for. So, and she's really trying to help me with that. And she's like, yeah, I didn't think of it that way, but that's what you would call critical listening. I was able to interpret, the difference between just trying to be funny, somebody just assuming, which is kind of a jerky thing to do, but we all do it. Everybody does it, some more than others, even. But, if the cruise director had been listening properly, they would have known that the people were most likely asking, do I have to go out or can I just stay here? And yes, the person talking probably could have done a little better job. But that would be critical listening. Um, as far as nonverbal, here's an interesting tidbit. I know we really didn't do the introductory speeches like all the other classes have really done, so none of you really know that I'm blind. So I've been blind for 2.5 years. So nonverbal cues aren't going to be my forte anymore. But I know what they are, so I can kind of give some ideas. Yes, back in the day before I lost my sight, people would tell me that I would ramble on. And I told them what it is I'm waiting for that verbal cue. Like you see it in the eyes, or you'll see kind of an acknowledgement that they get what you're saying. And it would frustrate me because so many people would just keep listening, waiting for you to stop. And I was doing the total opposite. I was like, I'm waiting to see a register that they're understanding what I'm saying because, I was a supervisor. That was one way. And then sometimes I would just do it in regular conversation. Like, are you getting this? And they were never giving me those nonverbal ticks that I would be looking for. But I will tell you, I would also see judgment a lot, or at least what I perceived as judgment. And that would cause anxiety. So sometimes nonverbal cues, at least for me, made me very like, oh man, they're not understanding, or they don't like what I'm saying, or are they getting it? Are they quite under? Am I being weird to them? So when I lost my sight, I tell people, they're like, oh man, that had to be devastating, this and that. And I said, well, yes and no, because once I had lost the ability to look for those verbal cues to get acceptance with things, my anxiety has went down. Like, so when I talk to people, I don't really worry so much. I still try to be respectful, of course, but I don't really get the same anxiety that, say, you would get if, you kind of thought the person wasn't understanding or they made a face that you may have misinterpreted or whatever. I have what I call the luxury of not having to deal with that anymore. But with that said, I will say I'm really enjoying my critical thinking journey. I've taken a sociology class, and that's really kind of helped me a little bit. So I might delve into that a little more to get better at it. I like these communication classes. I did speaking of critical thinking, I did misunderstand what communication was whenever I was trying to sign up for classes. I was like, I don't want to be on TV or in the radio. It's like, what is this? I didn't realize it's help you in public speaking. So, like I said, I'm working on my critical thinking. I'm not perfect at it. It's a work in progress. But that's just my two things. There was another one that I liked, but and I have to. It's like an honorable mention list. When people make lists like the top five, and they always not always, but sometimes they'll have an honorable mention at the end. The other one I really liked was the active listening. I like active listening, the note taking, the like you're engaged. And let me tell you, as a speaker, it's nice to see those verbal cues when somebody's actively listening. That is such a cool feeling because it gives you that reassurance that what you're saying is hitting and they're getting it. So that was going to be my other one if I couldn't, if I didn't have the cruise line story ready to go, I was going to do the active listening. So I just wanted to give that some honorable mention. Well, thank you so much.